I haven't ever thought about that before.
But it's really good quality even for some low price.
It's really difficult to not spend money in Japan because
日本でお金を貯めるのは簡単ですか？ Thank you for your time today. Firstly, where are you from?
I'm from Germany and I'm half Turkish, half German.
And how long have you been in Japan?
I've been living in Japan for 1 year before, but right now I'm here for 3 months.
Oh. What brought you to Japan last time?
Last time I was doing a working holiday, and this time I'm doing an internship.
How did you spend your working holiday last time?
I was trying out different things. I was trying out English teaching, modeling, and also I was working in a bar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was trying out different things, just seeing what I want to do, and yeah.
I don't know the Japanese rule about working holiday. Do they have like working limit thing in Japan?
That's not really a limit, but they do want you to more travel than working.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you apply for the working holiday visa, you have to prepare a lot of documents, where you want to go, where you want to travel, because they do want you to focus on traveling. Although you can work as much as you want, nobody will check really how much you work. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. And the topic of today is about, is it expensive to live in Japan? So my first question is, has your lifestyle changed because of the cost of living in Japan compared with your country?
It did change. I try to avoid trains because using trains in Tokyo is so much more expensive compared to where I come from. It's
really?
like 4-5 times as much. It's really expensive here. It's extremely expensive, especially because you don't pay for one zone. There's not zone A, B, or zone 1, 2. You pay for the distance you traveled, and that's extremely expensive.
Oh, really? Like,
Yeah.
how much do you pay in your country?
In my country, it's actually for free because I'm
Free?
a student. Yeah, for student, it's
Okay.
free. I don't have to pay anything, and for people also doing any kind of education is always cheaper. And we have a lot of discounts in general.
So you try to avoid using the public transport.
Because it's so expensive, I walk so much more. But it's good for your health. So I don't even mind walking. Yeah, but I always walk 30 minutes to get to, for example, Shibuya.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I don't mind walking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You know, in Japan, June, July, it's rain season. So do you like still walk to your company in rain season? Because you need to like use your umbrella almost every day. Or in that time you use public transport?
I think I would still walk because I like the sound of the rain.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and I prefer walking over taking packed trains. It's uncomfortable.
You know how full it is.
I have so many reasons to not take the trains here. So, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. So my next question is, do you get more salary or less salary compared with your country?
It's almost the same amount, I would say, but living in Japan is a bit more expensive. For example, public transportation is more expensive, and in Japan you have to pay for a lot of small things like extra service. Wi-Fi is more expensive here, things like that.
Okay.
So the cost of living in Japan is a bit more expensive. Also, houses, apartments are more expensive when we talk about the size.
How much different
Yeah.
compared with your country?
So you pay the same price as in Berlin, for instance, but you only get a few square meters, where in Berlin you would get 4 times as much
4
space.
times?
Yeah.
Than in Japan?
Yeah, so much more space. Yeah.
Oh, that's a huge difference.
It's huge, yeah.
What is your recommend way to save money in Japan?
I think walking
Walking.
in Tokyo especially,
Also good for health, huh?
yeah, it's good for health, and you can get anywhere pretty much. And also maybe not shop too much.
Not sure too much.
It's really difficult to not spend money in Japan because the advertisements are everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Even on the bus, right?
Yeah, and if there's one if there's advice I could give to someone coming to
yeah?
Japan is maybe not buying so many sweets like I did when I first came. I spent so much money on sweets because they are that good.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
good, really delicious.
Yeah, so I spent more money on sweets than I gained a bit of weight, and then I ate even more because I needed more calories.
Okay.
So I spent a huge amount on sweets and desserts.
Yeah.
It's insane, and drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also buying bottled water is so much more expensive than just drinking from the tap water.
That is for your health, right?
But you can drink tap water. It's clean. It's
Yeah.
safe and clean, and it tastes great.
There's no worry. You can just drink tap water and spend less money buying natural water
Yeah.
in the convenience store.
Yeah.
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
In the end, do you have anything you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, if anyone is interested, I also do YouTube. I talk about living in Japan.
Oh, yeah?
Now my channel is in English, but I will do it in German with subtitles.
Oh,
But
yeah?
still, anyone interested in vlogs, especially living in
vlogs.
Japan, they can check out my channel.
What is your channel name? Please share with us.
It's Sue in Japan. It's
Sue
very
in
simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you so
guys, please check it
much.
out. Firstly, where are you from?
I'm from South Africa.
South Africa. How long have you been in Japan?
Almost 3 years. Doesn't feel like it. Yeah.
How long are you gonna stay in Japan?
I don't really know, as long as I'm having a good time and enjoying it here, I think.
Oh yeah. Would you mind me ask you what do you do in Japan?
I'm a preschool teacher.
Preschool teacher.
So it's at an international school, so I teach them English and also other things about life, I think.
About life. What brought you to Japan? So because of the work or anything else?
Yeah, I think Japan is just so different from South Africa in terms of just like the nature landscapes and safety and like transport and culture and everything. I wanted to experience something completely different from South Africa.
Ah, you want something new experience. Okay, thank you for sharing. And so let's move on to the main topic. The topic of today is about, is it expensive to live in Japan? Do you get more salary or less salary compared with your country?
I think it's relative to like where you're working here and where you're working back home, and
yeah?
just the like education field. I think in general you get paid more in Japan, especially like me being a preschool teacher. I definitely get paid a lot more in Japan compared to back home, I think. Yeah.
Like in general, how much do you get for 1 hour?
If you work at like a convenience store in South Africa, I think the legally like the minimum rate per day, not even like per hour, is like
per day.
100 rand, which is basically like 1,500 yen, like per day. 1,500 per hour in Japan, right?
Yeah,
Isn't it? So in Africa, it's like 1,500 per day.
8時間で
そう
1500円か。
So, マジで. But that's kind of like maybe more like in a convenience store specifically, if I'm thinking. I think it's maybe around that. Maybe it's a little bit more, but in general, it's not that much.
Ah, okay. Okay, thank you for sharing. And next question is, how much do you spend in a month in total?
I haven't ever thought about that before.
yeah?
I think it depends on the month and depends if I'm like traveling or how much I'm spending. But maybe if I had to guess.
And like your rent.
Rent included. Whoa, okay,
Yeah,
that's a
rent included, and your food, cell phone fee,
Yeah.
everything included.
Okay, in that case, maybe anywhere between like 150,000 and to maybe like 200,000.
That's like pretty average. I think it's average in.
I think so, yeah, right.
Yep. Is it easy for you to save money in Japan?
Surprisingly, yes.
Oh.
I think it depends how much you're spending and what you're doing. But for me, like with the salary I get, it's possible to spend it like traveling or eating out and spend it on leisure things, but also to save as well.
Oh, so you still you enjoy your life, but you can still save your money.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, cool. In the end, what is your recommend way to economize in Japan?
I think in general, things like transport is really like accessible, but sometimes it can be a bit expensive. And I think it's so safe and beautiful to walk in Japan. So I would recommend like just walking around more, taking the train less. It's like really easy to also like rent bicycles and go cycling or something. Like that's definitely cheaper and I think also a better way to get around. And also not eating out the whole time. Like eating out in general, depending on where you go, is actually kind of expensive. So just saving up more. Like konbini food is pretty good and cheaper. So that would be my recommendation. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Yulala.
Bye bye.
Like and subscribe.
Where are you from?
Mexico.
Mexico. And how long have you been in Japan?
About 10 years.
What brought you to Japan?
I met a Japanese girl and she invited me to come over
Where did you guys meet?
in US, in college.
In US?
Yeah.
Oh, in college. Would you mind me ask you, what do you do in Japan?
I work for an IT company.
IT company.
Yeah, and I do some video production for them.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Okay, so let's move on to the main topic. The topic of today is about, is it expensive to live in Japan? In terms of cost of living, do you have like experience living in your country?
Yeah.
I mean, as an adult, like renting a house.
No.
So
But
you-
I lived overseas in Singapore, and living there, I've lived in the US. In Japan, it's a lot easier,
Lot
even
easier.
with minimum wage. It's a lot easier to find a nice apartment. And if you're single, it's relatively, you get a 1 LDK. And with a regular basic salary, you still have enough money for a nice TV, you know, like travel and stuff. Where like in other countries and other places that I've lived and I've been, even the minimum wage is really tricky sometimes to find housing. Even talking to friends, like friends in UK, to find a small apartment that is affordable is really expensive.
Yeah,
right?
especially
In Tokyo, I don't classify it necessarily as cheap, but it's really good quality even for some low price. Of course, there is levels, right? You can get a really, really cheap house, probably is like not great, it's really old, like everywhere else, but here they make sure that the apartment is like clean and the outside is clean, so it's nice for living, I guess.
Thank you for sharing. どちらから日本に来ましたか？フィリピンから。
Philippine, yeah.
日本はどれぐらい住んでいらっしゃいますか？
I am 30 years living in Japan.
30 years. What do you do in Japan? 日本で何のお仕事をされてますか？
Food processing.
なんだろう。
これ例えばね、お菓子作ってるとか、チョコレート作るとか、はい、ストローのディズニーランドのお菓子作ります。
なるほど。
はい。
どうですか？
caregiver to take care old woman.
デイリーケアみたいな。はい、ありがとうございます。はい、で、今日の、テーマについてなんだけど、Is it expensive to live in Japan っていうテーマでいろいろ質問をしたいと思います。Do you get more salary or less salary compared with your country?
I want more. If me living in Japan, I want more salary.
What about you? Do you get more salary?
No, it's about 70,000. Yes, I'm only a part-time.
Part-time.
Just a part-time.
How much do you spend in a month? Include the house, include the food,
Yeah.
include the
Maybe.
items that you buy.
Then 20万。例えば20万ね。で、後で残ってるはこれキープする。
たまにフィリピンでお金起こってるから
そう、そう。お金起こってる。
ある時ね。
そう。だけど私毎月起こってる。はい。
どれぐらい送ってますか？5万円とか。
そう、これ5万円とか3万円とか。
日本でお金を貯めるのは簡単ですか？それとも大変ですか？
大変です。
大変。
はい。
これからまた来年もっと大変ですね。
なんでだと思いますか
2月からまた大きくなるんですね。また高くなるんですね、あれ。
物価がもう今野菜とかも高くなってるし、ウクライナの戦争で電気代とかもう上がってきてるから、 これからはちょっと大変ですよね。
そうですね。
じゃあ、次の質問なんですけど、What is your recommend way to economize in Japan?
Don't buy branded item.
Branded items.
Yes, if you can walk, you can walk. Don't buy taxi because taxi is very expensive.
Use bicycle if you want
Use
to go.
bicycle.
Yeah.
to take public
Walk and
transport.
bicycle, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I always use a bicycle.
That's a
That's
money
also
and
money.
healthy.
Transportation, yes, it's healthy for the body.
Before this interview, I saw you guys doing the TikTok.
Yes.
Would you mind if I like share your TikTok on my YouTube channel?
Transmission.
Yes.
Transmission, NGO.
NGO transmission.
And Chikadora.
Guys, please check it out. They're
And
dancing.
Chikadora.
Chikadora.
Chikadora. Chikadora.